What would you do if, on the night of your biggest celebration, you looked into the eyes of a stranger's child and saw the face of the son you lost 8 years ago? The evening air around Adewale's sprawling Lagos mansion shimmered with wealth and celebration. Security lights glowed along the marble driveway, and the sound of jazz floated out from the banquet hall where the billionaire's birthday fundraiser was already in full swing. Chauffeured cars purred in one after another, unloading senators, governors, CEOs, and their jeweled spouses. Cameras flashed. The media circled like moths around flame. At the outer gate, however, a very different scene played out. Tara, a 23-year-old delivery rider still in her sweat-stained orange jacket, adjusted the straps of her helmet and leaned against her weather-beaten bike. Perched on the back seat was Leo, a bright-eyed boy of about 8, his small hands clutching a food box wrapped in a courier bag. He was humming softly, his eyes wide at the sight of the glittering cars. "Madam, I said you cannot pass," barked Kola, the head of security, arms folded like an iron wall. "Look around you. This is not a place for Okada riders. Go and deliver your food elsewhere." Tara stood her ground, swallowing her nerves. "Please, Oga. The app shows the order was placed for this address inside this house. It's prepaid. I can't just leave without dropping it." She held up her phone, the screen glowing with the client's name and location tag. The guards chuckled. A pair of young guests walking past sneered, pulling out their own phones to record the exchange. Then, from behind the cordon of security, a tall man emerged, Adewale himself. Clad in a crisp white agbada embroidered with gold thread, his aura carried decades of power and untouchable wealth. He had stepped out to calm the disruption, irritated at the delay. But the moment his eyes landed on Leo, the irritation evaporated. His breath caught. The boy had a small, crescent-shaped birthmark just beneath his collarbone, so faint but so unmistakable. Adewale's chest tightened. That exact mark had been on his son, the baby who vanished 8 years ago from a hospital ward. Before he could think, his gaze dropped to the thin silver chain around Leo's neck. Dangling from it was a small pendant, an engraved sun and moon design. Adewale staggered backward. He had commissioned that pendant the night his wife gave birth, a one-of-a-kind gift for their newborn. The pendant vanished with the baby. Where did you get that?" Adewale's voice cracked. Leo blinked, confused, clutching the pendant as though it might be snatched away. "My mum, Tara, found it. In the blanket I was wrapped in." The murmurs around the gate swelled into chaos. Guests gasped, guards exchanged looks, phones recorded every moment. Tara's face went pale. She stammered, "What are you saying? What's going on?" Adewale's world tilted. His heart pounded with recognition and fear. Could it be? After all these years? He took a shaky step forward, eyes locked on the boy. "That blanket, where is it?" And before Tara could answer, the security sirens wailed, police units arriving for crowd control. The night had shifted from celebration to mystery. The mansion's driveway, once filled with polished laughter and polite greetings, had transformed into a stage of tension. The air buzzed with whispers, phone flashes, and murmurs that spread faster than wildfire. The billionaire's gate, meant to keep chaos out, now trapped it inside. Adewale stood frozen, his eyes still locked on the boy. He had built empires, bought governments' ears, and silenced rivals. But here, in the trembling hands of a delivery girl, might stand the very answer to 8 years of agony. "Sir, what's happening?" one senator's wife whispered, clutching her pearls. "It's a scandal," another muttered, snapping photos despite security warnings. Kola, the head of security, sensing the storm building, stepped forward. "Enough," he barked. "Madam, you and this boy must follow us immediately for questioning. This could be a case of child trafficking." The word struck Tara like a slap. "Trafficking? No," she shouted, voice breaking. "I didn't steal him. I've been raising him since I found him. He was wrapped in a blanket by the bus park. He was crying and nobody came. I couldn't just leave him." Her words echoed, but the wealthy guests only sneered. In their eyes, she was a poor writer with no proof, no power, no right to make claims. Adewale's chest tightened. He stepped closer to Tara, his voice calm but sharp. "You said, the blanket. Do you still have it?" Tara, trembling, nodded. She fumbled with her courier bag strapped to the bike. From inside, wrapped carefully in a plastic covering, she pulled out a faded baby blanket. It was worn thin from age, edges frayed, but embroidered neatly in one corner were the initials Adewale Adeyemi. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Adewale staggered as though struck. His late wife had stitched those initials herself, sitting by the hospital bed the night she gave birth. This cannot be coincidence, he whispered. But before he could touch it, flashing blue lights cut through the night. Police vehicles rolled up, sirens slicing through the murmurs. Officers stepped out briskly, child protection unit in tow. Who is responsible for the child? Demanded Inspector Baligan, scanning the scene. Tara raised her hand immediately. He stays with me. I take care of him. No, Adewale said firmly, stepping forward. That boy is my son. He was stolen from me 8 years ago. The inspector's eyes narrowed. The crowd exploded with chatter. Phones streamed live, headlines were already being born. Delivery girl caught with billionaire's long-lost child. Both of you, Inspector Baligan declared, will need to make official statements. The boy will be placed under temporary protective custody until verification is complete. Leo clutched Tara's arm in panic. Mummy, don't let them take me, he cried. His voice pierced the billionaire's heart like a blade. Tara bent down, hugging him tight. It's okay, my love. I won't let anything happen. Adewale, fighting tears of his own, whispered, I'm not here to take you from her. I just want the truth. The night that began with fireworks of celebration had now dissolved into a storm of suspicion, fear, and unresolved questions. 8 years earlier, the hospital corridors in Lagos were filled with the soft hum of machines and the shuffle of nurses. It was a stormy night. Rain lashed the city and power outages were common. But Adewale had felt untouchable that night. His wife, Yemi, had just given birth to their first child, a baby boy. Yemi was exhausted, her face pale but glowing as she clutched the newborn against her chest. He looks like you, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Adewale had laughed, pride swelling in him. He kissed her forehead, kissed the baby's tiny fingers, and for the first time in his life he felt complete. Then a nurse came in. She was short, in scrubs, her ID badge swinging from a lanyard. We need to take the baby for some tests, she said politely. Yemi hesitated but nodded, she was too weak to argue. Adewale glanced at her badge but didn't think twice. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The baby didn't come back. When Adewale demanded answers, chaos erupted. The hospital had suffered a blackout during a sudden power surge, and the CCTV footage from the maternity wing was mysteriously corrupted. The nurse was nowhere to be found. Her name didn't appear on the staff roster. Her badge number matched no employee. She had vanished, and with her, Adewale's child. The days that followed were a blur of police reports, interviews, and desperate appeals. Adewale offered rewards, hired private investigators, even placed adverts in national newspapers. But the trail went cold. The police mumbled about human trafficking syndicates and inside jobs, but nothing was ever proven. Yemi, shattered by the loss, spiraled into depression. She refused to leave the house, refused to eat, refused to speak. Their marriage strained under the weight of grief. And then, 3 years later, she was killed in a car accident on the way to a therapy session. Whispers haunted Adewale even then, that the accident was more than coincidence. But grief drowned any energy he had left for suspicion. He buried his wife, built higher walls around his home, and drowned himself in work. Until tonight. Until the boy with the same birthmark. Until the pendant that should have been buried in the past. The fluorescent lights of the police station flickered, casting cold shadows on the peeling walls. Adewale sat stiffly in a chair, his agbada now rumpled, his fingers tapping restlessly against the table. Beside him, Tara sat protectively close to Leo, who clung to her arm. Across the desk, Inspector Baligan adjusted his files, while Mrs. Oyinai, a senior child protection officer, scribbled notes. Let's start from the beginning, the inspector said. His voice was calm but firm. Madam Tara, explain how this child came into your care. Tara took a deep breath, her eyes burning with both fear and defiance. 5 years ago, I was on a delivery run near the Ojulegba bus park. I heard crying by a pile of old boxes. I found him there, tiny, abandoned, wrapped in that blanket. I waited, asked around, but no one came. I couldn't leave him. I brought him home. You didn't report it to the police? The inspector pressed. I was 19, sir, Tara replied, tears forming. Orphaned, struggling to survive. I didn't trust the police. I thought they'd throw him into some overcrowded orphanage or worse. So I did what I could. I raised him. I paid for his vaccines, I enrolled him in school. Every kobo I earned from deliveries went into him. I have receipts, clinic cards, everything. Mrs. Oyinai glanced through Tara's neatly kept folder of documents. She's telling the truth. These records are thorough. Adewale leaned forward. Then we must settle this quickly. The boy is mine. I'll arrange DNA testing immediately. Not so fast, the inspector interrupted. We follow procedure. Both parties will provide statements. The child will be placed in temporary protective custody until verification is complete. No exceptions, not even for you, Mr. Adeyemi. The billionaire bristled at the defiance, but Mrs. Oyinai raised a hand. It's for the child's protection. If this boy truly is your son, the court will decide custody. But until then, we follow due process. Leo's small voice cut through the silence. Will they take me away from Mummy? Tara hugged him tightly, whispering, I'll be right there with you. Don't worry. Adewale's throat tightened. Son, he almost said but caught himself. Instead he whispered, Boy, I only want the truth. Mrs. Oyinai rose. We'll authorize an expedited DNA test in the morning. Tara may accompany the child tonight to a safe home. Tomorrow we'll begin to unravel this mystery. For the first time in years, Adewale felt a flicker of hope and dread. By dawn the story had exploded. The shaky phone video from last night showing Adewale pointing at the boy and whispering, Where did you get that pendant? Had gone viral. Social media feeds buzzed with hashtags. Hashtag billionaire lost son, hashtag delivery girl scandal, hashtag stolen child mystery. On one side, commentators accused Tara of kidnapping. On the other, voices praised her sacrifice, calling her the angel delivery girl. At Adewale's PR office, his team scrambled. We can't let this spiral, his chief strategist, Femi, said urgently. Investors are calling already. Stocks could tumble if people think you've been hiding a secret family. It's not a secret family, Adewale snapped. It's my son. Or it could be. And until I know the truth, I'll say nothing more. Meanwhile, Tara faced a storm of her own. As she walked out of the police station with Leo under escort, reporters swarmed her. Did you kidnap the child? Are you using him to blackmail the billionaire? Do you plan to fight for custody? I did nothing wrong. Tara shouted over the noise, clutching Leo close. I raised him when no one else would. But the damage was done. Her face was everywhere, her name dragged through the mud. In the shadows of the courthouse, a stranger slipped her a note that made her blood run cold. Stop fighting for him or you'll lose everything. The morning sun filtered through the glass walls of a private diagnostics lab in Ikoyi. The room was sterile, humming with machines, yet the atmosphere felt heavier than any courtroom. Adewale sat stiffly at one end of the table, his eyes fixed on Leo. Across from him, Tara kept her hand on the boy's shoulder, as if anchoring him to safety. The lab technician, dressed in a white coat, adjusted his gloves. We'll begin by collecting samples, saliva swabs and hair follicles. Both the alleged father and the child must cooperate fully. The chain of custody will be maintained, and the results delivered in 12 hours. Tara squeezed Leo's hand. It's just a little swab, my love. Nothing scary. Leo nodded nervously, climbing onto the chair. When the cotton swab brushed his cheek, he hummed softly under his breath, a lullaby. Adewale's chest tightened. That song, his late wife used to sing it when she was pregnant, humming it as she embroidered the baby blanket. How do you know that song? Adewale asked, his voice trembling. Leo shrugged. Mummy Tara sings it to me when I can't sleep. Adewale's composure cracked. He turned his face away, pretending to adjust his watch, hiding the tears welling in his eyes. When his own swab was taken, he felt both relief and dread. What if the results crushed him again? What if this was all a cruel coincidence? And worse, what if it wasn't coincidence at all, but part of a conspiracy he never uncovered? The technician sealed the samples and labeled envelopes, stamping each one. We'll contact the court once results are processed. Until then, the boy remains in protective placement. Leo gripped Tara's arm. Do I have to stay away from both of you? Mrs. Oyinai, who had accompanied them, knelt gently to his level. No, dear. You'll stay at the safe home again tonight, but both of them will be allowed to visit you tomorrow. Tara bent to whisper in his ear, I'll be with you every step. Adewale cleared his throat. Leo, he hesitated, then corrected himself. Boy, I will not abandon you no matter what the test says. The promise hung awkwardly in the air, fragile but heavy. As they left the lab, Tara's phone buzzed. She glanced at the message and nearly stumbled. The same unknown number as before. This is bigger than you. Stop before you get buried. She slipped the phone into her pocket, her heart pounding. She said nothing, but her instincts screamed that someone powerful did not want the truth revealed. Cliffhanger. The DNA test was set to decide fate in 12 hours, but in the shadows unseen forces were already moving. The government-run children's safe home in Surulere was painted in cheerful colors, though the peeling walls betrayed its age. Inside, rows of bunk beds filled the dormitories, decorated with cartoon stickers and faded curtains. Staff members moved briskly, guiding children to play areas and meal tables. Leo clutched Tara's hand as they entered. "Why do I have to stay here? I don't know anyone." Tara knelt to his level. "Just for tonight, okay? I'll be nearby." The staff welcomed him warmly, handing him a blanket and setting aside a bed. Leo glanced around nervously, then clung tighter to Tara's arm. One of the caregivers smiled at Tara. "He's very attached to you. He sees you as his world." Tara forced a smile, pride and sorrow tugging inside her. She had raised him since he was 3, his first day at school, his scraped knees, his bedtime stories. Could all of that be erased if the test confirmed Adewale's claim? She unpacked a small lunchbox she had brought. "Eat this before bed," she whispered, placing jollof rice and plantain in his hands. Leo looked up. "Mummy, if he's really my dad, do I still get to stay with you?" Tara's throat tightened. She brushed his hair gently. "We'll do whatever keeps you safe and happy. That's a promise." Later, when the staff finally led Leo to his bed, Tara stepped outside for air. Her phone buzzed again, another anonymous message. "Last warning. You don't belong in his world. Walk away." Fear coursed through her veins. But as she looked back through the window and saw Leo curled up clutching the pendant, her fear hardened into resolve. "They can threaten me all they want," she whispered. "I won't let anyone take him without a fight." The next morning, Adewale sat in the gleaming glass conference room of Adeyemi Holdings. The skyline stretched beyond the windows, but the mood inside was stormy. His board of directors sat around the table, murmuring nervously. At the head of the table, his CFO, Mr. Kama, leaned forward. "Sir, with respect, reopening this missing child case is dangerous. The press is already tearing us apart. Investors are jittery. If you pursue this, our stock could collapse." Adewale's jaw tightened. "Are you suggesting I ignore the possibility that my son is alive?" "I'm suggesting," Kama said smoothly, "that sometimes old wounds should remain buried. You risk everything." Adewale's eyes narrowed. "I've risked everything before. I won't abandon him again." Another director cleared his throat. "Sir, the hospital where your son was born was once a foundation partner. Old records may still exist in our archives." At that, Adewale ordered his staff to bring out the dusty boxes from the company's storage. He opened one, pulling out rosters, invoices and shift schedules from 8 years ago. His hands trembled as he flipped through. Then he froze. One badge number listed on the nurse roster had been crudely altered with whiteout and retyped digits. The handwriting in the logbook didn't match the others. His pulse quickened. Someone had covered tracks. And whoever it was had access to both the hospital and corporate files. When he looked up, his gaze locked briefly with Kama's. The CFO shifted uncomfortably. The sterile hum of the diagnostics lab returned like a storm cloud. Tara, Adewale, and Mrs. Oyiniyai sat in the waiting room, their eyes darting each time the door creaked. Leo sat between them, swinging his legs nervously, unaware of the life-changing truth about to be read. The lab technician entered with a sealed envelope. His expression betrayed nothing. He handed it to Mrs. Oyiniyai, who slid it open and scanned the papers with meticulous care. Her face shifted, first neutral, then stunned, then guarded. She cleared her throat. "The results show a 99.8% probability of paternity. Adewale Adeyemi is the biological father of Leo." The words detonated in the room. Adewale's hands shook as he reached for his son. "My boy, my blood." But Leo instinctively pulled back, clutching Tara's hand. "Mummy, I don't want to go with him." Tara's heart split. She squeezed him close, whispering, "It's okay, baby. We'll figure it out." Adewale's joy quickly met Tara's tears. "I raised him, fed him, cared for him when no one else did," she cried. "Blood alone doesn't make a parent." Mrs. Oyiniyai raised her hand. "Both of you will have your say in court. Until then, the child remains under protective custody. Do not forget, what matters most is his welfare, not your pride." As they left the lab, paparazzi swarmed. Microphones shoved forward, cameras flashed. Headlines screamed before dawn broke. "Billionaire's lost son found, delivery girl in tug-of-war." The High Court of Lagos buzzed like a beehive. The gallery overflowed with journalists, influencers and ordinary Nigerians eager to witness the showdown. At the plaintiff's table, Adewale sat with his legal team, flanked by bodyguards. Tara sat across the aisle, nerves raw but head high. Leo was kept in a private waiting room. Justice Okon, a stern but fair judge, adjusted his glasses. "We are here to determine the custodial rights of the minor, Leo." "Counsel, proceed." Adewale's lawyer rose. "My lord, the DNA evidence is indisputable. My client, a man of means and good standing, was deprived of his son through foul play. He can provide a life of privilege, education, and security, things the respondent cannot." Murmurs rippled. Tara's lawyer countered. "My lord, while the billionaire offers wealth, it is the respondent who offers stability, love, and continuity. For 5 years this child has known no father but her. Removing him now would traumatize him irreparably." The judge listened, expression unreadable. But then a bombshell landed. Adewale's lawyer produced a document, a police report from 8 years ago claiming Tara's neighborhood once harbored child traffickers. Gasps filled the court. Tara's face drained of color. "My lord, this casts serious doubt on how she came to possess the boy." Tara shot to her feet. "That's a lie. I found him abandoned. I never trafficked anyone." The judge pounded his gavel. "Order. We will investigate further. Until then, custody remains undecided." The session adjourned, but the court of public opinion outside had already chosen sides. That evening, Adewale returned to his study restless. He unlocked his private safe, pulling out old photographs of his late wife holding their infant son. He compared the baby's faint birthmark to Leo's. It was identical. Then his eyes fell on the hospital records he had retrieved earlier. That altered nurse badge number gnawed at him. He summoned a private investigator. By midnight, the man returned with a grim report. "Sir, the badge number belonged to Nurse Amina Yusuf, but records show she resigned abruptly days after your son disappeared. No forwarding address. No trace." Adewale clenched his fists. "Find her. Even if it means digging across states." The investigator hesitated. "Sir, one more thing. The altered files were logged into your company archives by someone with high clearance. Specifically your CFO, Mr. Kama." Shock rattled Adewale's bones. His most trusted lieutenant, at the center of the conspiracy? Meanwhile, Tara walked home alone, her mind drowning in fear. Her phone buzzed again. Another message: "We told you to walk away. The boy isn't yours to fight for." This time she called the number. No answer. Just silence. Later that night, while locking her modest apartment door, she noticed a folded note slipped beneath it. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "You don't understand what you've stepped into. That boy carries a legacy worth billions. Protect him if you can." Her blood froze. Someone wanted Leo not just for family, but for power. She whispered fiercely into the night, "I won't let you touch him." At the next board meeting, Adewale's gaze locked on Mr. Kama. "Tell me, why do your initials appear on hospital archive logs the week my son vanished?" Kama's composure cracked for the first time. He stammered, It must be clerical error." Adewale slammed a file onto the table. "Don't insult me. You sold out my family, didn't you? Who paid you?" Before Kama could reply, security dragged him out. Adewale knew this wasn't over. The man was just a pawn. Someone bigger was pulling the strings. The safe home was supposed to be secure. But that night, chaos erupted. Armed men stormed the premises, overpowering the guards. Leo was snatched from his bed, screaming Tara's name. By the time police arrived, the kidnappers had vanished. Tara collapsed in anguish. "They've taken him, they've taken my baby." Adewale received the call minutes later. His world spun. For the second time in his life, his son had disappeared. The city turned into a battlefield of shadows. Adewale and Tara, once adversaries, now united. They chased leads through abandoned warehouses, bribed informants in smoky bars, and combed records of old trafficking syndicates. Piece by piece, the truth surfaced. Leo had been stolen 8 years ago by a network selling children of wealthy families. Nurse Amina was part of it. The trail led to a hideout on the outskirts of Lagos. With police backing, Adewale and Tara stormed the hideout. Gunfire rang out, shouts echoed. Tara fought like a lioness, pushing past crates until she heard a muffled sob. There, tied in a corner, was Leo, terrified but alive. She cut the ropes, clutching him fiercely. Adewale rushed in moments later, collapsing as he embraced them both. Never again, never again. The ringleaders were arrested. Among them, Nurse Amina. Weeks later, the court reconvened. This time, evidence of the trafficking ring and Kama's involvement was laid bare. Public opinion swung fiercely. Tara was hailed as a hero for protecting Leo all these years. The judge rose. Custody is hereby granted jointly to both biological father and foster mother, in the best interest of the child. Gasps and applause filled the court. Tara wept openly, Adewale bowed his head in gratitude, and Leo ran into both their arms. Months later the mansion gates opened once more, but this time not for politicians or parties. Children from orphanages arrived for a charity day, led by Tara, now head of a foundation funded by Adewale. On the balcony, Leo stood between them holding both their hands. He looked out at the city, his voice steady. "I'm lucky. I have 2 parents now. And I'll help kids like me find theirs too." Adewale smiled, his heart full. Tara's eyes glistened with pride. What began with suspicion, pain, and power struggles had become something stronger, family born not only of blood but of love and sacrifice. Final hook. And so, the billionaire who found his lost son with a delivery girl learned the greatest truth of all. Sometimes, destiny writes its most shocking stories through the unlikeliest people.